to be like, hey, don't touch me there. You know, you already know, in you that it's wrong, but you don't know to say, hey, or something like that. Exactly. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And here we go. Okay, so do you have children?
Yes, we do.
Okay, what age do you think is appropriate for you to talk to your children regarding sex?
Okay, the questions that you have in the context that you're presenting them are turned around. I just want to comment on that.
Okay.
Because you don't have to talk to people about sex. Animals have sex. People have sex. You don't have to talk to them about anything because they just go do it. So if you want to talk about sex in the context of I just want what I want to fulfill my body and do what comes natural through me, through nature, you don't have to tell me anything. I'll figure it out. Right. I may do some things that are more pleasurable than others, but I'm fulfilling myself. So when you talk about sex, to talk about sex in the context under which it is established, you have to talk about in the confines of a relationship. So what you do in a family is talk about relationships. You don't start talking about sex when they're 2 and 3 and 4. You're teaching them about relationships.
Through your own actions, maybe? Or?
Through own actions, through our conversations, through corrections of the kids, through input from others, and you don't let them around people who have the input that do things that are unnatural to a relationship. So then, when you have established that at 2, 3, 4, and 5, when they're 8, 10, 12, and now they're developing sexually, in their hormones, now the conversation naturally progresses to what does this mean that you feel that way? But it's always in the context of a relationship, because who do you have to teach about sex? As you take your own character and say, what do I have to be taught about sex? I can go have sex without even someone telling me anything because you just follow your natural tendency. But does that form a relationship? No. So you ask about sex in terms of, is that sex meant to have a personal fulfillment, or is it a fulfillment within a relationship? And each person has to answer that, and each person has to be accountable for that. I would look at you girls and I could make some comments about how beautiful you are, how attractive you are, how sexually attractive you could be to others. And if you want to enter into a relationship like that, let me ask you how you can then end up where you respect your husband and the husband loves his wife. And that's the premise for a solid relationship, which begins at marriage and ends at death. So it's respect for the husband, acting the way he should act, not just saying, hey babe, and making it something you have to count numbers while it's going on. It's a pleasurable thing. And the wife loves the husband because of the way he elevates her. So either sex is elevating people or it's just using people. So we very, very much have understood on our relationship, it is sex is part of the relationship in value in the individual, and we have taught our kids that. When you start with the relationship, it's not difficult to talk about anything that goes on between two people. But if you want to start with sex, how do you take sex and go to relationships?
Right, that's where it's uncomfortable because you just make it about the actual
the physical act.
The physical act.
Not what goes on emotionally between the two people.
Right. I don't mean to go off on anything there, but I would like.
No, that's excellent. I think you might be a psychology teacher.
No.
Naturally.
You just proved our point, I guess.
I don't know what your point is, but don't ever start either personally or in a discussion with sex and what you can do, because I don't care what it is between she and I. There are no bounds between she. If it's pleasurable to both of us, we don't set the bounds. But you have to know what the other one wants. But if it's just about me, then I may abuse her body or abuse her mentally and physically. And you don't want that. You want to build and build and build. So the relationship goes, and sex is a part of it, just as much as many, many other things that you include. Go ahead.
So would you say that your children basically started learning from birth around both of you and your interactions then? About our sexuality, human sexuality, and human relationships, how you're putting
I think that's very true, because we have a boy and a girl. So when they become the least aware of their bodies, you don't run through the house naked. Kids do that, and it's kind of fun and enjoyable. But then you start teaching them, no, that's
respect for your own body.
Right, that is your body. You start protecting it yourself, and as we know now, if you want to talk about the way society has gone, the bounds are just about down. And so a lot of things go on which need to be stopped at some point. But yeah, we started very early.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead with
Do
your
you have
question.
anything you'd like to add to what he's saying?
No, not really. We stood back here and kind of discussed the whole
You guys had the
thing.
most time.
Yeah, but you
No,
know,
you guys did good. It's good.
we have been in total agreement most of the time when it concerns those type of situations, and we talked to both the girl and the boy as they were growing up and when they were mature enough to understand what was going on, and we taught them. And we've done that for 43 years, and now we're starting to do the same thing with our grandkids.
We're all with our first wife.
And all of us, yeah, we're siblings here.
Oh, wow.
Because I have my brother and my sister.
So you guys must have had a very good upbringing, relationship-wise, and learning about yourselves growing up. Also, then it just seems it would be just easy for me to just put that together and say, because how you're saying they're all your first wives, first husband, or whatever, you know.
I would say that
that just sounds really.
that I'm not real sure I would say
Unusual,
that,
okay.
because the way we were raised was a very private, more like what you were
Right.
talking about. So it was not as we were not open. No.
Yeah.
But you have to understand also that
The time changes.
our parents were like when I was born. My mother was 43 when I was born, almost 44. So there, and she was born in 1901. So that gives you an age span there that just did not talk about things like that. So I had a tendency to learn from other people.
You found yourself through more of society and outside
To a
influences.
certain extent, yes. But through that, I also learned to respect who I was and not go into some of those areas. And then when we formed our relationship, we just kind of decided this is what we're going to do with our kids. You're not going to hide anything. You're not.
Right.
It's the same way with drugs. Anything
Yeah.
that's alcohol, anything that's out there now. It's
Right.
one of those things you have to constantly teach your children, and a lot of that teaching is by actions.
So you guys think it's best to both parents sit down with the children and talk to them about it? You guys don't.
See, what the question itself implies that there is a one time you talk about it.
And it's
And,
not
then-
just
and that's
one
not
time.
the way children learn. Children
an
learn
ongoing.
through the
It's an
actions,
ongoing
through
from birth
relationships.
to-
So when a
Yes.
question comes
Yes.
up, you
When they
answer it
become
honestly,
themselves.
and then
Yes.
they form their thoughts, and then you hear back from them, and then you can talk to them about it. And certainly there doesn't have to be a lot of detail because they understand the difference between a man and a woman, a young boy and a young girl. They know the difference. So there doesn't have to be a lot of detail, but there does have to be a lot of emphasis on the relationship in the detail.
Right.
So I keep going back to that. So, and again, if you can talk about sex or you can talk about sexuality in relationships. So however you approach it is a vast difference, and how your relationships go in life will be greatly affected by how you approach that. And so,
Okay.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, thank you. No, that's excellent, and I don't think I have any questions because you answered a big, wide
let me
spectrum of it, and
what
I
are
think
what are
that you
your
guys all did
attitudes?
really good. Thank you.
What
do
are
you
our
think?
attitudes?
Would you talk to someone about sex? If
Well,
your
I
little
have
brother
two
and
children right now. I have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, and just the other day, because we have these diagrams that we're studying of the male and female anatomy, and she caught me doing it. So she's asking, "What's this and what's this?" And I'm like, "Well, this is the male, and this is the female." I don't know. Some people might be like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" You know, she's only 5 years old, and I'm like, "Well, look, this is where the baby forms. This is where we pee. This is where this is where that." And with the male, they only pee through here, and they only have this other, you know, or whatever. And you know, I kind of felt. I felt good about doing it in a sense, and then I felt that maybe my mother would yell at me for doing it if she walked in on me showing my
Your
kid that stuff.
psychology course will
But,
teach you at what age kids develop their moral perspective on life, and your child is already there.
I think the 5-year-old,
At
she's
5
really,
years old, they're already there.
she's really smart, and she has a lot of questions about that, and it's really hard. Like, and then she kept pushing on, well, how does the baby get in there? How does the baby get in there? And then I just kind of kept like, oh, get out of here, I'm
So who do you
studying.
give credit-
avoiding
who
the
do you give
topic.
credit for making the baby? You know, how do
Right,
you, how do you approach
exactly. I
that?
told
Is
her
it-
both,
is it just
but I
some
didn't
man?
go to detail on how it happens. I just said, well, you know, it takes a man and a woman because the man reproduces this, you know, thing. I said, you know, and then the woman has this little egg inside of her, and I was like, and later on you can find that out, but I'm not telling you right now. But it's just the man and the woman. No one can do it by themselves. She's like,
Very good.
and I'm like, go away. I'm studying again. But thank you all very much.
thank
It was
you all.
Thank
very,
you,
very,
girls.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your thing.
You're a
Thank
beautiful
you.
little girl.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What are you doing?